Well, welcome to Mike Ferry TV. We are fortunate today to have a very excited and a very smiling and a longtime friend client with Kathy Schweitzer with us today. She is from the state of Michigan, where she and her husband had a very successful company for many years. We'll talk about that more later. But
Mhm.
Kathy, welcome, and thanks for taking the time to be on Mike Ferry TV today.
Thank you, Mike. I'm very excited to be here. As always, it's a joy for me.
Thank you. So how long have we known each other now? I think it's been a while.
18 years.
18 years. And I think I met your husband, Paul, probably close to 40 years ago, if I remember correctly. Is that right?
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
think it was actually, it might have been even a little longer than 40 years, which
I
is hard.
I don't think either here and I want to hear that, but I think you're probably correct. It's probably been over 40 years now. So you've enjoyed being in real estate then for how long?
I've been in the business for 32 years.
Have you really? Wow.
Yeah.
So, a couple of weeks ago, we talked to Sydney Fullen, and she is now almost 40 years in the business. And I'm so amazed that some of you, including myself, have lasted this long. So
Right.
what's the key to lasting in real estate as you and so many others have?
Okay, that's a great question. What's interesting is I talked to someone, I can't remember where recently, and he said, "How long you been in the real estate business?" And I said, 32 years. He goes, "Oh, you're a lifer too." And I said, well, I never thought of it that way. So how do you do it? I think I think you have to really enjoy what you do. And I think you have to embrace every single moment in the career and understand that some are going to be great and some are not going to be so great. And that's true with sales or leadership or coaching. But my passion is coaching, and I think you know that.
Yeah, and that's you've had that passion for a long time. You ran a company in Detroit. You ran a company up north of Boston. You were vitally important with John Gray, who's a great client and I know a great friend of you and Paul's.
Yes.
You have a lot of management experience, a lot of experience training salespeople how to sell. Um, what would you say is the greatest joy or triumph you've had in the business?
So I tend to when I look at the greatest joy or triumph, I tend to look at it individually. And I think really it's the day-to-day watching people grow and excelling and exceeding in their business. So I can't say, or I suppose it could also be when I was recruiting a lot, the ability to recruit great, strong agents and watch them grow and get to the next level. So I look at it more as an individual type of thing where I'm affecting the lives of someone and helping them to become better agents, I think.
So you and we've had so many discussions on a personal level, Paul, Sabrina, myself, and you. And of course, we've had so many business discussions. I know that you're a bit of a sports fanatic, as and Sabrina and Paul. Is there any correlation you see between selling real estate and the acceleration of some of these great athletes we see all the time?
1,000%. Absolutely 1,000%. So it's funny. I have a picture of Tom Brady right over here in my office of him with the number 10 on at the University of Michigan when he played there. Yeah. So I tend to think the way you think, and we do talk a lot about it, that it is very similar. So I always tease and say when one of our clients is maybe drifting a little bit from their skills, I'll always say, so is Tom Brady, who won 7 or 8 Super Bowls, going to drift away from throwing the ball every day? So I see the skill of an athlete, of their consistency in their practicing, the same as an agent consistently practicing, for example, their scripts.
You know, it's funny you should say that because I have agents will question me when I have somebody up on the stage at one of our events. And of course, and you've heard this before, the agents will say, "How much did you pay that person to say those things?" And I go, I never paid them anything to say those things. Well, do you pay their expenses to be at the event? I said, never done that either. They come because they're willing to share what they do. And I think what bothers agents is these top producing agents, you and I know, will say, well, I practice my scripts 30, 45 minutes to an hour every day. And they go, why? You've been at it for 10, 15, 20 years. But as you said, Tom Brady still practices probably harder than most of the players on the team will practice every day. So I wrote down a couple questions. I wrote down first, how many agents do you work with today and coach? How many do you
I-
have?
I coach 60.
Wow, that's a full-time job.
It
So
is.
that's great. Can you share two or three or more, if you want, qualities or characteristics that you've seen over the years and all these? And I'm not talking about superstars. I'm just talking about good quality agents. What do they have in common?
So what they have in common, what I come up with when you ask things like that or that question is, one thing that I think of is they understand that their consistent behavior in their daily activities equals consistent results of reaching their goals and building their skills. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. If you remember at a retreat, Fahad Assad made that great comment that you have to connect the dots between talking to people and achieving the goals you've set.
Absolutely.
That's the consistent behavior that you're referring to. And so few agents seem to, why do you think so many people miss that point?
I think that the lack of consistency is a big challenge for a lot of people. And I think they miss the point because they don't have good habits.
Okay.
And they were never taught good habits. So I think, growing up, if you're not consistent with certain things or no one's teaching you or the coach isn't teaching you or training you with that, it's not innate for a lot of people. So it's a learned trait.
So developing habits is a learned thing. It's not yes, some people are probably born with better habits than others. It's just how they were raised or in their DNA, but most of us have to learn it. Wouldn't you agree?
100%. Yep.
So the daily activities of an agent, and of course, you and I keep saying to agents, 80% of your day should be built around doing business and 20% taking care of it. And what I got a kick out of, I had an agent a couple weeks ago say to me, I don't have any listings or any sales in process. What do I take care of? I said, well, you don't take care of anything. Why are you spending all day thinking about what you should take care of?
Right.
Go create business, So what's your second thought on these common characteristics?
So another common characteristic for sure is a positive attitude, which again, I'm sure you've heard that a lot. And having a positive attitude can make a big difference. But specifically, when I say that, I'm referring to, in general, they have a positive attitude. But when they're faced with an obstacle, for example, or a challenge, they look at that challenge as an opportunity for growth and to move forward versus the negative side of it.
Yes. And that it's so easy in the world today to see the negative because that's what we are living in today, which is a sad state of affairs. But at the same time, you and I know that if they keep looking at the good, they're going to find it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always a growing situation. So when they're faced with a challenge, they look at it, how can I get better because of the challenge? I see that as a very strong characteristic of agents that are growing and continuing to do well with their business.
Earl Nightingale called the word attitude the magic word. That if you focus on being positive, magical things happen in your life. And the truth is, it's just a better way to live. But good for you. I like that. So consistently positive attitude. Do you have a third thought?
Yes, I do have a third thought. I have a lot of thoughts, but the other thing that maybe goes hand in hand with the positive attitude is the ones that excel the quickest, obviously the consistent schedule, positive attitude, really disciplined with their skills, but they're also calming. So when they're faced with that challenge, they know how to keep, as you always say, keep your emotions between the lines.
Yeah.
And so they're calm.
Yeah. Joan Pate, great coal banker agent out of Salt Lake City for probably 45, 50 years now. In Seattle, at a program I was doing, she decided to attend, which was a blessing for the audience. I brought her up on the stage and I said, what is the key to your success? And she said, I want to be the calming force in every difficult situation. That's really what you're referring to, aren't you?
100%. Yep.
The clients are going to get emotional buying or selling. Things are not always going to go the way we all want them to go in the process of a listing selling and a buyer controlled sale closing. and buyers and sellers get a little out of control at times. And if we are the calming force, the transaction works.
Exactly. And they're not as emotional as others. They've
Yeah.
learned to keep those emotions between the lines. And when you're calm or the calming force, it's much easier to do that.
Well, I'll never forget, I was talking to a group of people down in, so I think we were in Nashville, Tennessee, and I made this example of keep your emotions between the lines. And one of the gals said, the state of Tennessee, where we are today, the state lines are pretty close compared to most states. Is that what you're referring to? Not exactly, So, but I think that is a great. So I wrote down, very consistent in their daily activities, a very positive attitude, and a calming force in the transaction, which they have to be. Do you think it's the lack of a number of transactions that causes the emotional outbursts that many agents experience?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
They're consistently doing the opposite. Instead of doing the consistent activities, they're starting and stopping and starting and stopping, which causes the fear of not getting to what they want, which is why they get emotional and they're not calm.
Or, somebody said to me, it might have been Paul, your husband, agents don't have cash flow, they have cash spurts. They have no for 30, 60 days, then they have two, and their checks are getting pretty big and they're all excited. Then to pay their bills, then they're depressed again, and then it goes through that emotional curve, which is really what good skills level that emotional outbursts and challenges out. Wouldn't you agree?
They sure do. There's,
Yeah.
leading companies and offices for so long, you could see the gap between those that were moving forward and those living in the peaks and valleys, and they're always more emotional, and it's harder on them. It's just
Yeah.
it's just hard.
So what is the biggest challenge you see for agents today? Because, I don't think people want to talk about it, but days on market is extending. We're getting more price reductions than we've had in several, probably 6 to 8 months. We're seeing a lot of listings expire that would never expired before. We're seeing, instead of 10 or 15 offers, 1 or 2 offers. And most agents don't want to see this change. What are the challenges you're seeing today for agents that want to remain strong and have a good finish to the year?
So I love that question because I've thought about it quite a bit with by observing and watching people. So I think some of the biggest challenges is the ones that have been doing so well have left some of the basics or the fundamentals of what got them to where they are today. And
Okay.
I see that as a challenge. So with some of my clients, I've asked them, so let me ask you this, what fundamental have you kind of left or haven't done such a good job with because the market's been so strong and now
Yeah.
it's changing. So I think, again, the consistency of keeping with the fundamentals, whether you're a great agent or just on your way up, people start leaving that basic common thought. So I think that's a challenge right now, is getting back to what got you to where you are today.
I'll never forget, at the very second Superstar Retreat was 1986 in the month of August in Newport Beach. And an agent walks up on the very first day and said, I was here last year. Do you have any new material to present? And I said, do you have any new problems? And she goes, no, I have the same problems. I said, well, then let's apply last year and this year's material to solve the problem. But it's easy for agents to get swept up in the latest and greatest. And like you just said, not focus on the basics. Yeah, for those that don't and didn't attend the Superstar Retreat, Kathy was kind enough on our bonus day to present. I think you guys probably presented 4 or 5 times in the course of an afternoon. And, you all 4 of you got great responses, and your response was very high. So thank you for that. So what advice would you give an agent that is newer today to real estate to ensure that 2022 is a good year?
So to ensure that 2022 is a good year, did I say that right? 2022 is a good year. Let's start now with 2021. So I tend to think, and we were talking about this the other day with the coaches, is about do a 90-day success plan now and get involved now and start. You did a while ago, do an 18-month plan, but start their 90-day success plan now. Get involved now and start for 2022 immediately. And a couple thoughts on that, may I share?
Please.
So a couple thoughts with the 90-day success plan for some of the newer agents. I did write down and I said full immersion into Mike Ferry, the Mike Ferry system, watching Mike Ferry TV every week, going to YouTube. So getting your head on straight and working the system. The other thing I wrote down is in the 90 days, get some accountability partners or some other agents with you, watch the videos together, Mike Ferry TV, and do what I think you said, the 4 Ps or the 3 Ps, which is, prospect, work with your past clients and center of influence, preview homes, right? And just make sure that you're working diligently to move your next 90 days forward. Because if the 90 days are great now, when you wake up in January and it's freezing cold in the Midwest and you have no business, it's always worse, Mike.
No, there's no question about it. Well, that is really good advice. Well, so I want to say to Kathy, thank you for your continuous inspiration that you offer agents every day. Thanks for being a great participant in the Mike Ferry organization, a great coach. We hope that you have already had a long career. We just want to extend it with the work that you're doing. And I know those that are watching today will say, thank you, Kathy Schweitzer, for the effort and energy you put into our short interview on Mike Ferry TV. So for all of you and you hear me say this every week, try watching this TV program every day, because each time you listen, you'll hear something new. So Kathy, thanks again. We'll see you very soon, and say hi to Paul for me, okay?
All right, sure will. Thanks so much, Mike. Really appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.